Greets. This is a TVR CHIMAERA pedal box. People who've watched the other TVR CHIMAERA video I did before, the last one, where I took the pedal box out of my TVR CHIMAERA, so that's about 5 of you. I don't know what the TVR, no one's interested in the TVR videos. I'm basically talking to nobody at the moment, but you know, whatever. Yeah, so this is the pedal box. This is the same as you would find in the Griffith, and people are looking at this and thinking, that's a weird looking thing. I mean, it's not really a box in a traditional sense, but it kind of is. Obviously, the reason why you have a big metal pedal box in a TVR is because, sorry, I've just noticed some red carpet glued to the edge of my pedal box. My car has black carpet. Anyway, yeah, so with a TVR you tend to have well, you don't tend to have, with the TVRs you have a fiberglass body, and you can't easily bolt things into fiberglass bodies because fiberglass is flexible and light. Sometimes in the older cars, I mean, like Wedges, they would pretty much just glass in a piece of wood and mount everything through that. But thankfully, the CHIMAERA is a little bit more advanced. Not that advanced, it has to be said. But yeah, so this is a bit minging. It's a bit rusty around here just because of age. This is like coming up 30 years old, but also around the bottom it's quite heavily corroded. It doesn't need welding or anything, but it does need rescuing, because the yeah, see there's a bit of a knackered washer there. It's at some point it's had brake fluid leaking in it or something like that. I'm not going to use conventional brake fluid when I put the thing back together. I'm going to use .5, which if you go in any TVR forum or book, or anyone who's got any opinions on TVRs, that is a big no-no. People are like, no, don't use .5. It's up there with poly bushes. Don't use poly bushes. You can. You can. So that's what I'm going to do. What I've got to do this is start stripping the pedals out, which I have actually already done. And I just started doing this before I decided to film it, so I thought, well, I'd show you quickly what I'm doing, because it'll make a little bit more sense. So basically you have, it's a hand-built car, right? So you literally have a bar which is pushed through with a washer and a split pin on the end, which I'll show you in a sec. But this is a clutch pedal, and it is basically a piece of steel cut like this. I imagine that's laser cut, I can't see any grinding marks. So a piece of steel with a piece of tube welded inside it. That's got a brass bush pressed inside, which is nice, but you can't see that because it's out of focus. Then for the pedal you have a bent piece of steel welded to a bolt. Get my face out so it focuses on it. There you go, welded to a bolt, which is screwed into a threaded boss, which is probably the same as the ones they use for the seat belts, just cut down because it's the same thread, and that's welded to the bottom of the bar. So that is a pedal, and the beauty of this is that if you undo this lock nut here, you can wind the pedal in out, and I'll do that quickly now. So this is one of the advantages that a TVR has over other cars, because you can't normally do this, but to get the ideal driving position, you just, oh, he says, oh, bloody hell, that's the one the brake fluid's been dripping on. Oh, I hit myself. Right, okay. Right, well that's a little bit seized, so we're going to look at that another time. There you go, there's one I took out before. Here's one I did earlier. This is the brake pedal. And yeah, it's just a bolt on a piece of bent plate. So if I take this stud out, remove the brake pedal. So if you were shorter of leg, as I am, you would wind this. You'd have it. I mean, you could obviously go in as many threads as the bolt is wide, minimum. But yeah, you'd basically have that wound out. If you're very long of leg, as Peter Wheeler was, the man who owned TVR at the time, you would wind it in. He was like 6'6", I think. So yeah, that's basically it. That's how you get your ideal pedal. That I'm going to have to sort out. I'm taking all these out and painting the pedals themselves. Hope the microphone doesn't pick up that. Yeah, I'm going to shot blast the box, the pedals, and paint those as well. I'm going to put new rubbers on. Haven't got any, but I'm going to buy some new rubbers because originally they have, yeah. So I'm going to get some new ones of them. So that needs, I won't get these bushes out. I don't want to try pushing them out. What I'll do is I'll use a nut and a bolt and a rubber washer or something like that, and then some big washers either end, and just put the nut bolt through and do it up tight to stop the grit from the grit blaster getting inside there, because I don't want to be taking that out. Don't need to, there's not really any play in it or anything. Yeah, that's a pain, so we'll have to look at this in a minute. And then for the pedal box, we've got, yeah, so basically you've got the back of the clutch master cylinder here, which I'm just going to get rid of another one of those. I'm going to get rid of that because I'm switching to .5, so I'm just going to junk it. The servo is pretty minging on that side, and that's not even an old servo, but again, brake fluid, good stuff. But basically that's all it is. I need to take those two bits out. This stud here is what the throttle pedal hinges on. The throttle pedal is still in the car because it's soldered onto the end of the throttle cable. I ain't removing that. So yeah, that's still on there. I'm going to leave that. I'm just going to tape that up with a bit of insulation tape or something. The grit blaster, the grit in there will bounce off that. So I'll just wrap that up in insulation tape, gaffer tape, whatever. It will just bounce off, and if it bounces off I can undo the tape and it will come back out like this. But I'll wait until I've painted it. So I've got 4 M8 bolts to undo here and 2 here, and then that's it. And then the pedal box can go into the grit blaster and be blasted, and then I'll paint it with some gloss black. But I'll have to, apart from tidying up, yeah, I need to get that out because that is mullered. That's properly seized. This isn't a how-to guide, by the way. Yeah, I do this stuff for a living, but there's bits I'm not showing you because of, you know, time and people's attention spans. But there we go. One brake servo, because inferior braking systems need servos. So superior braking systems use a central high pressure hydraulic system and can just take the pressure from that, but whatever. Yeah, so that's the old brake servo, which, yeah, is probably dead, even though it's not that old. Has it got any fluid in it? Yes. Well, there's where my brake fluid was going. Oh, actually, no, it's water. Well, that's, well, I was assuming that's where the brake fluid had been going because of that, but why is that? What? Why is there? Right, there we go. Pedal box. This will need shot blasting. That does take a surprisingly long time to do. But yeah, one pedal box. I'll just take this up, or I could put a piece of fuel hose over it, an old piece of rubber, because I've got tons of that. Tons of stuff you can't actually use. I might also put some bolts in here, because these, just to stop the grit getting in those threads. But other than that, ready to go. Just got to sort that pedal out first. Well, the easiest way to do this, I've just put it in a vise, and I'm hoping please don't break. I think that's going. Please don't be the thread stripping. There we go. Bastard. Right. There we go. That's gone. I did think about putting some penetrating oil on it, but there's none in this area and I'm too lazy. He says, making life harder. People are like, why don't you just put the pedal in there as well and paint that? I don't want to get the threads blasted, because it could make them slightly smaller. And on some things that's fine. On pedals, yeah. And the other reason, ooh, that's pretty rough. Is that brake fluid? And the other reason is, no, that's the reason. That's it. I don't want to get paint. I don't want to get paint or grit on the threads. So, bloody hell, right? But yeah, there's no point blasting and painting these, because, well, they haven't been painted from new. You can still see the heat from when they were welded at the factory nearly 30 years ago. But yeah, there's no point. They're going to have rubber all over them. Right, we're all bunged up. That is stripped. I've got some old bolts in the top to stop stuff getting in the threads. I haven't done that stud. I just remembered that one. I should do that. And then the pedals, I've got, the ends are sealed. You can't see because of the camera. And then I've put some old bolts in the end to just keep the threads clear. So that's it. Right, well, it's a few hours later. This has come out of the shop blaster, and I have since painted it, and it looks very shiny and smooth. I haven't done the underside yet, but I've also done the pedals. Looks like it's be too nice to put in, really, but yeah. It's some days later. As you can see, progress has been made. I didn't show all of it. I showed the shop blasting. Painting, I can't remember if I filmed that or not, but it's just an aerosol. It's like that. So I've cleaned the servo up. That's on there. I've put the master cylinder on. I haven't done it up. I thought I would have the wrong socket, so I can't do it up. Hang on. Try again. So yeah, I've put the pedals in. I'll show you those in a sec. The servo I've cleaned up and put that on. It will actually, I'm going to put a little bit of like wax oil or something on the bottom there. This doesn't go outside the car, so it's not the end of the world, but it is a little bit rusty at the bottom. So I'm just doing these fixings up. That's done. So that is brand new master cylinder. That's never had any fluid in it, and that's important because, I don't know if I've mentioned it already, but I have an airset. No. I'm going to put .5 fluid in it, silicone fluid. So that's a brand new cylinder. All the lines I've got, I'm going to purge them with air. Basically going to maybe a little bit of solvent down them and then just purge them all through with air. I'm going to do the same thing for the clutch. The clutch master cylinder that I took out is here. This works okay, but it's had brake fluid in it, so part of me thinks, do I just buy a new one? The other part of me thinks, just buy a seal. But it's not that dirty in there, I don't know. Well, I can't fit that now anyway. Basically that's 2 bolts and that goes in just on the edge there. I did have one, I did buy one, I had it ready and then I put it on a customer's car, so that was dumb. Yeah, so I'll sort out the clutch master, that will go on, then all the pipe work and everything will get mounted to this, and that will be put there, ready for when this whole box goes in with everything on it. The throttle pedal gets fitted as this goes in, because it's like still in the car. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's come out quite well. I've fitted the pedals, try and take this out without scratching all the paint off. I bet I have. Oh no. Yeah, so all the pedals are on here. Yeah. And, oh Christ. And I've managed to wedge an extra washer in on the shaft. But yeah, there's very little, well there's no play in that at all. Range of motion, no play. No rattly pedals here. He says rattling. Oh, there you go. Yeah, because the clutch isn't connected. So, yeah, I've also cleaned and tap and dyed the threads on the pedals, so those are lovely and free now. They can be, I will put a bit of grease on the threads and wind them in and out, but these won't be adjusted until we're on the car. Obviously, I also need to get some pedal rubbers. But the last bit goes back on here, that's the reservoir. Well, that doesn't actually go on until this is back in the car. That's fitted when this is all in there ready. But yeah, oh, I need a brake light switch to go in there. I've got some of them upstairs, so I'll pop one of those in. So yeah, I need to clean the reservoir. It's a bit grubby, so I will absolutely not stick that in the dishwasher at home when nobody's in. Definitely not. So once I've got the, oh that's close isn't it? That's better. Once I've got the pedal box ready to go into the chim, there it is, covered in kids' car seat, engine crane, Clement bits, a wing over there for, that's not even mine. Yeah, once it's all in there, I won't be able to bleed the brakes in here because all the wheels are, the back wheels are still on the ground, and I'll probably want to put it on the ramp for that. So what I'm going to do is I'll fit it all back up, all the hardware, put the wheels back on, get it running, drive it out there very carefully on the handbrake alone, which does work, and then drive it up onto the ramp and bleed the brakes in. But obviously I've got to purge it with air first and everything like that. I've also got a clutch master cylinder, no, slave cylinder, which I've got to rebuild because that's a used one, but only been used once, but it has had brake fluid in it. So yeah, I need to put a new seal in that. And then yeah, hopefully the silicone experiment will work and I'll never have to worry about it all again. The calipers also need stripping, that's the other thing. Need to take them apart and change the seals. And I've got some discs and pads upstairs, so I might as well put those on because those ones are looking a little life expired. Despite the fact they've done no miles at all, this thing's just been sat around outside most of its life. So, right, onwards, which means I'm going bye.